welcome to the Holly Marriage Show, and thank you so much for joining me today. As always, I'm hoping you're having a wonderful day in our beautiful country of America, because I'm going to do my best to ruin it. I'm going to give you information that you're never going to hear, no matter how hard you try, from that old devil we have to live with every day, the mainstream controlled by the feds media. Last week, General Al Sisi, a fantastic man in every way, a true patriot, a man who loves his country of Egypt, put an end to the Muslim Brotherhood. Would that he came to America and did the same thing here. Last week, he put an end to it. 82 years of nightmare, havoc, riot, torture, murders in the night. That's what the Muslim Brotherhood is all about. And General Al Sisi, a true man with real guts, put an end to them. He took all the money out of their bank accounts, even around the world. He closed any buildings that they were using to operate from. He has banned them completely from any political kinds of action in the country of Egypt. Let's hear it for General Al Sisi, a fantastic human being who is willing to take on all the trials and tribulations that standing up to the Muslim Brotherhood bring you, because he loves his country. Egyptians are a tremendously popular race of people and always have been. I mean, look at the pyramids. Did anybody else put those up? No, they didn't. The Egyptians figured out how to put the pyramids up. The Egyptians put up those beautiful statues that nobody knows how to do today either. Colossus, unbelievable things. We don't even know how they did it, but somehow they did it. So again, General Al Sisi of Egypt is our kind of guy, like Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel is. And by the way, where are the latest ceasefire negotiations taking place? Well, I'll tell you, because you won't hear it again. They're taking place in Cairo, in Egypt, because General Al Sisi understands completely, as does Saudi Arabia, as does Jordan, all of these countries want Hamas to be stopped. Just like General Al Sisi just stopped the Muslim Brotherhood. Hamas is a terrorist organization. The citizens of Gaza overwhelmingly elected Hamas to be their representatives, and now they're reaping what they sowed. You get what you deserve. If you put a terrorist organization into power in your country, whose avowed charter clearly states that they wish to kill every Jew in the world, and that they want Israel wiped out completely, what the hell did you expect Israel to do? I think Israel is trying its very best not to wipe the whole bloody place off the map, which they could do in about an hour and a half. An hour and a half, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and I think General Al Sisi knows that as well, and probably wishes not so terrible many things to happen to the children of Gaza, whose bloody pictures we see morning, noon, and night, keeping in mind that Hamas, let me roll that around in my throat the way they say it, that Hamas takes these children and puts them where they're going to be killed. Yes, they do. They put them in the hospitals. They put them in the schools where they have their weapons that they're going to barrage Israel with. They do it on purpose for two reasons. So that they can tell the world about how terrible Israel is, because Israel is killing children, keeping in mind that they're the ones putting them there. And also because Israel is trying not to kill these civilians in every way they can, even though that means some of their soldiers do get killed. Israel tries its very best not to kill these children in these schools and these hospitals, and that means the weapons are not blown out of the planet as they should be, which Hamas also knows. I'm getting pretty good at that. Hamas makes you think of spitting, which is what you should be thinking of when you think of them. So now let's go back to General Al Sisi, a true man who is working with Benjamin Netanyahu, another true man. And look at who's not in this little negotiation. Thank all the gods. I don't care if you're praying to Moses or Allah or Yahweh or Buddha. I don't really care. Because finally somebody with a modicum of sense is doing the right thing. He removed ketchup carry from the entire equation. And of course, the Muslim Brotherhood member that is in our White House. So now things are actually taking place that may have some kind of a positive ending for Israel and Hamas. And keep in mind again that this little tiny sliver of land, Gaza, the Palestinians, Israel, is completely surrounded on every side by Muslims. Although Egypt, which is a Muslim country in many ways, is a secular country. They're not the lunatics that you see running around taking people's heads off, which is why General al-Sisi knows what he's doing. He doesn't want them in his country either. He likes his head on his shoulders. He wants his family's heads to remain on their shoulders. The people that are running around in Gaza believe in taking people's heads off and sticking them on pikes, right along with ISIS, which is now rapidly running through, need I even say it? I want to bring this up to you for a very definite reason. We have 3 strong men in our world today, and not one of them happens to be the President of the United States. The reason for this is we don't have a president who loves his country. We have a president who loves his golf. Right now, as all of these things are happening at this very moment that I'm speaking, he wended his way on Friday to Martha's Vineyard, one of the most exclusive resort areas in the world, where he will play golf with his friendies, and he will eat very expensive dinners on us. Because remember, everything he does, even on his vacay, we're paying for it. We are paying for it. And we are paying for it in more than one way. Not just with our money, but with the decimation of the respect the world used to have for us. And the world doesn't expect us all the time to be there and do everything, although you would think that way from all the money we give them. It's because we have a person who simply doesn't have the ability, affirmative action at its zenith, doesn't have the ability to do what's required when emergencies strike. He would rather dither and talk and say, I'll think about it, we're considering it, it's something we might do, there are lots of options, and meanwhile, zilch. So I started this whole thing with General al-Sisi, who, by the way, was trained here in America. General al-Sisi of Egypt, Benjamin Netanyahu from Israel, Vladimir Putin, another person who loves his country. Forget all the nonsense that you hear. Vladimir Putin is a communist. He does not hide it. He's a dictator. He doesn't hire that either. But the bottom line is that in Russia, they don't want a democracy. They've never wanted a democracy. They actually liked their czar for 1,000 years until the Bolsheviks, and we all know who they are, until the Bolsheviks came and caused nothing but trouble. They like a strongman government. They like it. They want somebody who's a really tough cookie running their country. That's what they want. Remember Stalin? Can you get any rougher and tougher than he was? Yes, it's what they want. So let's go back to where we are in the world hierarchy. We're about number 27. China doesn't really have a leader of note. They're really an anthill, a beehive, call it what you will, but that's what China is. It's just a big conglomerate of little units running around. That's why it's obscenely ridiculous to think that they will ever become the world one power. It will never, ever happen. They simply do not have the mental capacity to think that way. They will always think as the Borg. Think of China as the Borg on planet Earth, because that's what they are. I'm back again to General al-Sisi, Benjamin Netanyahu, who today, like al-Sisi got rid of the Muslim Brotherhood, and that's a big thing he did. Benjamin Netanyahu got rid of Obama and Ketchup Kerry, and is now dealing directly with General al-Sisi in Egypt, because General al-Sisi has the ability to make things stick because he can get some people who are also Muslims to follow him and apply pressure to Hamas. And this is what it is that you need as a leader. Someone who is willing and capable of leading.
Hello, good morning. I'm Ray Flo. This is my stories, Lake Worth Stories. We've been here, I guess, about 8 years. It's been great. Love Florida, love the storage business. I was meant for this business. Come with me, let's go inside. And here's the fantastic staff. Mr. Josh runs it. Hello, Josh.
Hello.
And the quiet one, look here, Marge. Look this way. Look this way. There you go. All right. So, well, there is a lot to run into storage. There is no silver bullet to make it successful. We've been very successful. So, you got to have a few things. You know, you got to have, of course, the price has got to be right. You got to have a nice staff, congenial people. We have that. Place has to be clean. We have that. And we have to treat people with dignity and very nicely, and we do that. So we've got, you know, the price, the staff. We've been here a long time. We got a good record. Above all, though, it really should be secure. And we have very little problems with that here. We're very secure. We've got 14 cameras there and some more here. So yeah, we're set for the public. We're set up. Excellent.
And to come back to my show, to go from the sublime to the ridiculous, last week, Neil Abercrombie, who was the governor of Hawaii, was soundly crushed in his re-election bid. Neil Abercrombie is a real hippie. He has a long ponytail. He looks like you just dragged him off Oahu Beach. He says, and who are we to disclaim it? He says that he was there when Barack Obama was born. Well, he must have been on a little cliff in hell somewhere. But he insists that he was there when Barack Obama was born. This is why he believes all the nonsense about Barack Obama having been born in Hawaii. Remember the lady that gave the certification that ended up in a plane crash where there were 9 people on the plane that ditched in the ocean, and of the 9 people, only herself ended up dead? Not even the pilot died? Do you not find that very odd and strange and capricious and perhaps convenient? Because I do. So here we have this wonderful man who was crushed, even though there are many, many pictures of, yes, our dear leader, having his arms around him, telling everybody, please vote for my very best friend Neil, who, by the way, was a close family friend for all of his life. That's no doubt how he wound up being governor of Hawaii. It's not because he's particularly bright. It's not because he has any particular abilities. It certainly isn't because he's attractive. Because none of those things hold. He is what he is. He is a buffoon. He is a super liberal, uber liberal. He is a friend of Obama. And more importantly, he was there when Obama was born, which is his main claim to fame. But he got trounced. The people of Hawaii, which is a very, very, very liberal state, and has been for a long time. Remember, they had a 92-year-old senator, Daniel Inouye, until he finally died. Finally died at 92. Otherwise, he'd be running for re-election. They are very liberal people. So if you can see that the very liberal uber governor, best friend of Obama, who was there when he was born, got crushed in his bid for re-election, then there is hope for the country. There is hope for the country, because if he got thrown out of office, then we can throw out of office every single miscreant in our Congress. And every single one of them is a miscreant. I have tried to explain this to you on many times, many shows, that both sides, both Republicans and Democrats, all get their money from all the same corporations and all the same PACs. Chamber of Commerce, all the lobbyists for all the countries around the world that we keep giving money, which, by the way, is in excess of $1 billion every year to many countries. That is just a gift. Just a gift. We give money to a few. We give money to Afghanistan, that we're in a war with. We give money to Iraq, that we're now bombing again. We give money to Israel. We give money to China. We give money to Liberia, where the damn Ebola virus was just imported into our country. In other words, we give money to everyone on the planet. And it's gift. And do you ever hear a thank you? No, you don't. And you never will. These people all have lobbyists in Washington, D.C. And when we give all this money to these countries, our Congress people get it back. The lobbyists take them out for dinner. The lobbyists give them money for their PACs to get reelected. So although it's taxpayer money, your hard-earned money that you can't pay your electric bill with because you're giving it to the federal government, that money is now circulating around the world with all these gifts that we give all these people, comes right back into the pockets of your Congress. How do you think NAFTA got passed? What a joke that was. That is how Bill Clinton really began his odyssey to being a super billionaire. He passed NAFTA. The Mexican government at the time gave him Christ knows how much money, and that was his way to get going forward so he could pay off even more people to get reelected even more. This is the way it works in our federal government at the moment, and it all has to come to a thudding halt. And the way you can do that is with term limits. And you can do that without them agreeing. Isn't that good news? You can have term limits, and you should have term limits, because I want you to understand something about all this foreign aid. For the first 100 years of our existence as a country, we didn't have any. We didn't have any, none, zero. Because in the Constitution, good old George, you know, the best president we ever had, if not the only one we ever had, good old George made it clear in the Constitution that we should not, N-O-T, we should not get involved in the affairs of foreign countries. That we should not be giving out the country's largesse, that's your money, to foreign countries. It's in our Constitution. And we didn't do any of it for the first 100 years of our existence. We picked it up a little bit during World War I, when a lot of people were starving in Europe. Why was that our problem? I mean, after all, Europe has a lot of countries. Why didn't they pick it up? And then we picked it up even more after World War II, when we beat the living hell out of the Nazis and started rebuilding Europe. Are they thankful for that? No. Are we still giving them money every single day in every single way? Yes. This is what you need to understand. The United States of America, in our Constitution, was never meant to be involved in any of this. It's one of the reasons I believe George Patton was assassinated, because he was coming back to America from the war to run for office, to be president against Eisenhower, because he wanted to tell the world what was really going on. And you know what? He didn't quite make it. He ended up dead, which is unfortunately what seems to happen to a lot of people when they try to tell the truth. They end up dead. So this is what I want you to understand from this part of my show today. Foreign aid, not in our Constitution. Foreign aid, we shouldn't be doing any. Foreign aid, take all those billions of dollars that we give away and turn them back onto Americans. It's your money after all. Let us use that money for us. We have more money than the world has ever seen. Even in 1 year, more than the world has ever seen. Every American citizen should be living a wonderful life, not struggling not to eat cat food if you're a senior, not being homeless and trying to figure out what you're going to do for a night to sleep someplace so you don't get robbed and raped. We have plenty of money. Let's use it for our own people for a change, because then the standard of living in our country will be where it should be. Our country should be doing better than Dubai. We shouldn't have Detroit's or Oakland, California, or on the way, Philadelphia, or God help us, New Orleans, Louisiana. We should have every single city in our country should look like Dubai. And if you don't know what Dubai looks like, Google it. It looks like a fairy princess land. It is breathtaking. It is incredibly beautiful. So is Shanghai, for that matter. And they are safe. They are safe. They are clean. Their citizens don't even work all the time, because the money that comes in from all the oil that we buy, although we shouldn't have to because we have plenty of oil of our own, all that money goes to the citizens. They don't send it to us. They don't send it to Palestine. They don't send it to Australia. They keep it for their own people. What a novel concept. Imagine if Americans kept all of their money for Americans. What would our country be like if we did that? And that is what you should be thinking the next time you go to vote. You want to vote for someone who is not going to give away 1 more cent of your hard-earned money who's going to pay down our debt so that our money is worth something, is going to get rid of the ridiculous Federal Reserve and start letting Americans be Americans.
Hi, I'm Maria of My Clean Home Services. Been in business for 5 years now. I specialize in residential and I also do commercial. If you need any references, I can provide that for you upon request. You can give me a call at 954-520-4282 if you have any questions. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Hi, good morning. I'm the owner of Chopstick Chinese Restaurant. My name is Scott Alam. I'm serving Mandarin, Sichuan, Cantonese cuisine past 18 years. I'm only the Chinese restaurant who's serving the halal food from South Florida, and then we make fresh cake and everything made from scratch. So cooks in order. So please try us, and we're in downtown central location and under the dark bay building. As you can see, we have a catering tonight, 100 people. Mostly we do takeout, dining, delivery, and catering too. So we have price ranges start from $6 to in between $12 to $13. Try us. Thank you.
Welcome back. If I didn't give you enough to think about, let's go on to another subject that is of very high importance to the country. We do not have, at the moment, a southern border. We do not. On our southern border, people are simply arriving and walking into the country. The border agents are ready to tear out their hair because they have been told by Homeland Security, who works for you-know-who, or rather you-know-what, who works for whatever that is in our White House. They have been told that they are not to stop these people. Now, this has nothing to do with the hordes of children, which they're not, but the hordes of children who have supposedly trekked across 1,000 miles from El Salvador and Honduras and Guatemala. Listen, there is no way in the world that happened. What they did was make an agreement with Mexico, because Mexico is where they're coming through. If Mexico wanted to stop these people, they would have stopped them. We have done something completely illegal because we want these people, not you and I, but the inhabitant of the White House wants these people to come here because it will undermine, and it will undermine, many, many, many communities around the country. These people are being spirited up in the middle of the night and deposited all over the country with no warning whatsoever to the governors, the mayors, the people that have to feed and clothe them and provide for them and have schools ready for them and have them taken care of in their hospitals. These people are being overwhelmed, and you're not hearing anything about it on your mainstream media because they've been told to shut up. If you think we still live in the land of the free, no, we don't. We live in a country that is so controlled. Everything is controlled by a certain group of people. But it's so controlled that even the media, and by the way, in case you didn't know, Fox News is mainly owned by a Saudi. If you didn't know that, let me be the first to tell you. Yes, Fox News, that supposed place where you can get fair and balanced news reporting, not so fair and balanced. Most of it, probably 75%, is owned by a Saudi national, not an American citizen, a Saudi national. So when they do their reports, haven't you ever wondered why all of a sudden you have all these liberals now on the show? You have Howard Kurtz and his ghastly media buzz. Ugh, really a bad show. where at the end of every show, he just tells you all about why the conservatives are wrong. You also have, God help us again, Geraldo Rivera, who lost his mind many years ago, but is still in search of it on the Fox News channel, and says the most outrageously ridiculous things in every way in support of you-know-who. So now you understand that even Fox News, that up until about, I want to say 6 years ago, and by the way, the person took over the majority control of the station, up until, and I can't say his name on air, up until about 6 years ago, Fox News was somewhat fair and balanced. At least you could get a different viewpoint. If you listen to 16 different news stations, you'll get the same viewpoint because they talk to each other and they tell each other what they're allowed to say. And that's the truth. What they're allowed to say. And remember, I know now from firsthand experience because I've been on major news media. And I have seen for myself that we are all censored. We are all told what we can say and what we can't say. We are all told, you can't bring that up on your show. That's not freedom. That is censorship. That's control. So your border, which is chaos, which in our Constitution, one of the only things that whatever it is in our White House is supposed to take care of, is to maintain the sovereignty of the country. If you don't understand what sovereignty is, allow me to explain it. If you don't have metes and bounds and borders, you don't have a country. If you don't have a place where there's a delineation, demarcation line between Mexico and America, and Canada and America, and the two sides of the ocean from sea to shining sea, you don't have a country. You just have land. And whatever it is in the White House is allowing, in fact encouraging, to happen right now, is to have as many of these people who come here with nothing. They are flat broke until they get across the border, and then we have to take care of them entirely. We have to give them a place to stay, and a very large facility is being built just for them. We have to find a place for them to stay, we have to feed them, we have to pay their medical bills, we have to provide them with attorneys, we have to pay for their dental care, and meanwhile we have homeless people wandering around the streets that are real Americans and real American vets that are lucky if they have a place to eat. This whole project is being done to give the Democratic Party another base, just like Lyndon Baines Johnson did with the Negroes when he did the 1964 Great Society. Let's call this Barack Obama's open borders. Here comes a whole new population that we can bamboozle into voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Because when you give people something, when you tell people that have nothing, if you can get to America, we'll take care of you, and they come, and you do, even though they don't speak English, there's no requirement that they learn the language. We are required to do all of these things for them, thanks to these ridiculous liberal judges. When you give people who have nothing something, why, you've bought them. You have bought them. Because they're going to keep you in office because they don't want to lose the things that they've never had before that you are now giving them. So in other words, whatever it is in our White House is doing is taking the money out of your children's mouths and putting it into the mouths of the illegal children's mouths so that the illegals will vote for Democrats who have given them something their own countries never provided them with. Their own countries are glad they're gone because this is the lowest segment of their population. And they have in all of these benighted countries, they don't have any social programs. I've said it to you before and I'll say it again. The top 1% in Mexico live like kings. Why, they live like Barack Obama does. They all live like King Obama does. Meaning they do whatever they damn well please, anytime they damn well feel like doing it, on you. And in Mexico, they have very, very, very low taxes to the government. Because they don't have to pay taxes, the top 1% is very, 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 very rich. It's a great deal like the aristocrats used to be in Europe and in England, when they would tax the peons from whatever they had and then sell it and keep all the money so they could maintain their magnificent palaces and mansions. Meanwhile, the peons dropped dead at the age of 30. It's kind of getting to be that way again. So you understand, Mexico doesn't care at all about all these people that are trekking into our country because it's a safety valve for them. If all these people who keep breeding as they do like cockroaches, If all of these people kept having all of these children that nobody can take care of, why, Mexico would have a lot of revolutions. So Mexico and whatever it is in our White House have conspired, I'll use that word, have conspired together to allow all these people to trek across the country of Mexico and arrive on our border. And then, in a normal world with a normal president who cared about the country of America, which this thing does not, but in a normal world, they would be turned back. They would be denied entrance. They would not be thrown on us, because this is what a country is. You have to have sovereignty. So look it up again. It's in our Constitution, just like no foreign aid is in our Constitution. This bumbler has no sovereignty in mind because he wants the country to fail. He wants the country to be in such a predicament, such chaos, such mayhem, such consternation that, hey, the only person we can see on the horizon who could possibly help us out of all of this disaster is, why, yes, King Obama. King Obama could help us with this one, right into a pit. You have to have sovereignty. Your country's borders must be maintained. Amnesty, we've tried it since 1986. The Democrats lie every single time. They never enforced the border. We passed a bill in 1986 that said build a fence. They defunded it immediately, just like they could defund Obamacare, just like they could defund all of the other stupid programs he does. I have told you a billion times, and it happens to be the God's truth. Congress controls the money. So if they don't like what he's doing, even though they come out and say, oh, we don't like what he's doing, even though they go through all that, they like what he's doing. Face it, you have a completely duplicitous, traitorous government in place. All of them. Because they benefit. They and their families benefit. Haven't you noticed how long they live? Haven't you noticed how healthy their lives are? Haven't you noticed what palatial lifestyles they have? Why, that's all on you. Do you think any of them are willingly going to give up any of that lifestyle so that you can have some sovereignty? Good luck with that, because they're not going to until you force it upon them. When you force it upon them by forcing them to have term limits, which we can do without their consent, when you force it upon them, then there's no choice. But sometimes I wonder if we even have a hope and a prayer, because just recently again, Lamar Alexander was reelected only by 50%, and it took him a hard, long, bruised battle to get it done. But Lamar Alexander is a political hack. You have 14% approval for Congress, and yet you people keep sending back the same fools over and over again. When you're presented with really good, viable alternatives, you keep going back to people like Lamar Alexander, who is a political hack. He has never worked a day in his life. He has had a government job since he graduated college. It's the old boy system. When you lose one position, they put you in another one. Haven't you noticed this yet? Oh my God. Wake up. We are the rulers of the universe. Let's act like it.
Hi, welcome to Muscle Beach, located on 501 East Atlantic Avenue, Delray Beach. We'd like you to join us for some of the finest, hand-picked, shipped daily Prince Edward Island mussels, along with the freshest seafood Delray has to offer.